Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the Marketplace. Coming up this afternoon, government targets end of March this year to sign off debt restructuring agreement with independent power producers as it reduces payment to $700 million. Also coming up, the minority in parliament warns Ghana's power sector is on the brink of collapse on the back of recent intermittent power outages.
At 12 p.m., load shedding would commence again. Our investigation indicates that some of the thermal plants are down. Specifically, TAPCO is down, TICO is down, and so they are not generating enough power.
Ahead, a report on the shoe and leather industry, which is grappling with power outages, raw material shortages, and a lack of skilled labor.
Many, but we try to circumvent it. One has been skilled labor. Getting skilled workers to work with is a very daunting task.
My name is Daryl. Kwawu. Thanks for being with us. Details coming up. Thanks for being with us, everyone. Government is targeting the end of March to sign off debt restructuring agreement reached with independent power producers. Government also claims that the debt owed the power producers has been reduced to about $700 million. Here's George Affe with more.
According to persons working on these negotiations, the debt had been brought to this level after government started making some payments to these independent power producers from last year. This was after it was able to finalize negotiations with about 5 other independent power producers in July last year, when at that time the debt was pegged at $1.6 billion. But after some audit, it was reduced to $1.2 billion. Government started making some payments from last year after threats by some of the independent power producers to shut down the operations over delays in paying the debts. Joy Business also understands that the term sheets have already been exchanged with about 5 of the independent power producers for further scrutiny. But as at yesterday, there hasn't been any objections raised yet about what government has proposed in the term sheets. They are also hoping that by the end of this month, that agreement will be officially signed in terms of how government is planning to pay the remaining debts to these independent power producers. There have also been some arrangements where the Electricity Company of Ghana will start making some payments to each of the independent power producers in the coming months as government works to pay off these debts to the power producers.
Meanwhile, the minority in parliament says Ghana's power sector is on the brink of collapse on the back of the recent intermittent power outages. According to minority spokesperson on Mines and Energy, John Jenapol, government is so broke and unable to purchase fuel to power the thermal plants to generate electricity. He was speaking to journalists in parliament.
The load shedding is getting worse by the day. Every day, the president was delivering the State of the Nation address and boasting. At that very period, the utility companies were shedding load. The situation appears to be exacerbating. Yesterday alone, there was a whopping 530 megawatts of deficits, culminating in curtailment of power to Côte d'Ivoire, to Burkina Faso, and to Togo. You would attest that there was some massive darkness yesterday. Today at 12 p.m., load shedding would commence again. Our investigation indicates that some of the thermal plants are down. Specifically, TAPCO is down, TICO is down, and so they are not generating enough power. But more importantly, there's a lack of fuel in the system. Because of the financial constraints, government has not been able to procure adequate fuel to fire some of our thermal plants, culminating in the load shedding that we're experiencing. 1 month of load shedding is more than enough. This is not sporadic, this is continuous, this is persistent, and we think that the handlers of the power sector should do the onerous thing by informing the people of Ghana so they can plan ahead of time. This deliberate fixation on denial and deceiving the people of Ghana can no longer hold. We therefore call on President Akufo-Addo, Dr. Bawumia, and this government to do the needful by telling the people of Ghana the truth. We also call on government to look for money wherever they can find that money to procure heavy fuel oil and other sources of fuel to power the thermal plants. We cannot have this quantum of thermal complementarity and still shed load.
All right, we'll have some analysis on the challenges with power supply in the course of this bulletin, but challenges in accessing high-quality raw materials, skilled labor and power supply are adversely impacting operations of the shoe and leather industry. Leading players in the sector say the industry sources most of its raw materials overseas with heavy tax impositions. They lament the high cost of products affects the cost and patronage. Here's more in this report.
And leather industry, despite interventions by the government to boost operations, continues to grapple with logistical and human resource challenges. According to some industry players, the sector is presently faced with lack of access to locally processed high-quality raw materials, lack of skilled human resource, and unstable power supply for effective production. Tonye Senaya is the chief executive of Horseman Shoes.
As a local business, our challenges are quite many, but we try to circumvent it. One has been skilled labor. Getting skilled workers to work with is a very daunting task. Another challenge would also be the materials to work with. You know, we have been working with the materials available to us all these years. But when you bring experts who come in, and yes, they appreciate our work, but they feel that our work could be better if we have the right materials, if we have the right tools, if we have the right machinery. So it's also a very big challenge. And of course, the power crisis, especially within this period where we've been having the training, the power has been very, very, very erratic.
Tony Senaya spoke on the sidelines of a skills training workshop organized for some industry players, including persons living with disability. The 3-week workshop, funded by the Ghana Skills Development Fund, is aimed at honing the skills of beneficiaries in shoes, belts, wallets, and other leathery accessories making.
Thank the Ghana Skills Development Fund, GSDF, and their partners. We know they have partners, and they are partners for supporting skills development in this country. We hope that donor agencies would find value for money and continue to support us.
The 15 participants were taken through designing and pattern making for environmentally friendly leather products. Stefano Parini is an Italian facilitator for the workshop.
If here we try to work with the same standard of Europe, is a challenge.
Some participants shared benefits derived from the training.
The Hawaiian, a prominentias, yes. I say, min name say, obey me, disabled for, and no more actual merjuma. If say, you will nipa bebria, or more a juma, I was say, or more disabled for a year.
I didn't know people living with disability would also benefit from the training. I am grateful for the opportunity.
Juma, abum. But I said the Hawaiian. I'm mintimi nasia me de better nasi.
Since 2010, and you started here, and you started here no nyamyadom GSDF. Ebe so ya sen eboaye e de obi free Italy buy. Ebe chere adwuma ne so. In fact, eboaye pa another opportunity.
GSDF has really been helpful to the Horseman brand.
All right, let's take you back to our top story today to do with the country's power challenges. Joining me on Zoom is Nana Mwesi the 7th, who is Executive Director of the Institute for Energy Security. Earlier in the bulletin, we heard from the minority talking about the cause, alleging that the country is broke and is unable to purchase fuel to power the thermal plants. That's causing the electricity generation challenges that we are facing right now. What are you hearing to be the cause of the power outages we are witnessing recently? And, well, what do you make of the minority's assertion that the government is broke and cannot purchase fuel to power thermal plants?
This afternoon, Daryl. Good afternoon to your viewers. Yes, it is the case that government is not liquid enough to buy natural gas or pay for fuel that is needed by the power producers to churn out power, hence the low supply of power in the system. What we have is not able to meet our peak demand as a country, and so some power had to be shared off. So it's an issue of fuel supply challenge, which is contingent on financial weakness as well.
Do you agree that the power sector is on the brink of collapse?
Yes, it is possible if we behave the same way, because one thing that can give the IES the assurance that we can overcome this is the fact that government, is admitting that there's a challenge. But as we have it today, government is not admitting that we have any challenge in the sector and saying that there is no doomsday. Meanwhile, we know doomsday has been with us for quite a long time. Unfortunately, after the president's proclamation during the State of the Nation address, a day after, it's escalated. Probably nature working its own way to probably take the cloth off the issue. And so we can only say that we'll have a sector tomorrow. If we accept the challenge, then work at it. That is the only way we can have a sector. Over the past few, or maybe a decade plus, the challenge has been an issue of adequate install capacity and also supply of fuel. The adequacy in the install capacity or available capacity to churn out power that could cover our peak demand has been dealt with long time ago, before 2017. And what is left is the fuel supply challenge. If you don't have money, then you cannot procure the fuel as well. If we can raise enough money and be liquid enough in the sector, then we have a sector that's going to work. But as we have it today, the fuel supply is a challenge. Transmission lines and system have their own challenge. Distribution leg has its own challenge. If we're able to address all this within the value chain, then of course our system will be safe. If we don't do, we may be sitting on a time bomb.
Well, like you indicated, the government remains tight-lipped about these challenges. They still insist we are not in the era of doom. So how is that problematic? Because, again, we heard from businesses, Hosman Shoes, talk about the impact of these power challenges on the operations of his business.
Yes, unreliable power supply, insufficient power supply impacts negatively on businesses. It's also a security threat. We are not able, as even residential consumers, to go about our daily lives conveniently. It's quite a problem. And so if we want to see a country that is that intends to overcome the economic challenge that we have today, then of course we should not add this situation to it as well. Unfortunately, the utilities that have to convey to us what exactly the problem is, including GridCo and the ECG, are also collaborating the government wrongly and suggesting that we are in a good position. For God's sake, if you can consistently, you cannot supply power to your people. You just have to churn out some timetable for them to plan their daily lives. But you don't go and also behave as if everything is right. Behind the scene, they speak to us and they tell us things are not right. But if they have to be bold enough to face it and count it as same, they are unable to do that. And that's quite unfortunate.
Well, while we grapple with the outages, we've been reporting today that government is targeting the end of March to sign off debt restructuring agreement reached with independent power producers. Our reporting says that the government claims that the debt owed the power producers has been reduced to about $700 million. What's your reaction to that?
Well, that is a voodoo accounting or reconciliation we have at our hand here. We don't know how they arrive at that because as we have it, if you are dealing with this IPPs based on their invoices given to you over the period, invoices on power sale, then of course you're only addressing one of the problem. There are many that sit and wait for you to address. The foreign exchange losses is not part of this discussion, as we know. Also, the idle capacity charges is not being tackled. And again, fuel supply invoices. Because Daryl, the fuel suppliers have contracts with the IPPs. Then governments have committed to pay for the IPPs. And so the suppliers bring the invoice to the IPPs, and IPPs send it to government to pay. All those invoices are there. Many are not paid. And so we don't know how they arrive at the $700 million. Because technically, if we even want to interrogate how much they owe Sona Asogli, it's in excess of what they have just mentioned. To cover their power sale invoices, the foreign exchange losses, the idle capacity charges, and fuel supply.
Well, you call that voodoo accounting, but let's just give them the benefit of the doubt if they're able to.
Of course, that's what we'll do.
How
then,
would
you see?
Yeah.
Well, you come and make a bold statement on the floor of Parliament when you have not signed off any agreement with an IPP. You are now telling us that it will take us up to March for you to sign off. It means that there is nothing concrete on paper. We need to take our time. We cannot wish our problems away. Let's call the spade a spade. Then, of course, at that point, we are admitting that we have a problem. Then we look for the answers.
Well, let's just give them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, if this is true,
we'll do.
How would that ease the challenges we are grappling with right now?
They are talking about the IPPs.
Yes.
You remember late December or late last year from September to December, we had on 2 occasions or 3, WAPCO shut down their valves and not allowing gas to flow from the Western Corridor to the Eastern Corridor in Tema. And we had widespread outages for days. Is it covered in this reconciliation? So they are only dealing with one of the legs. There are many other legs that if you don't fix, the table will wobble and you won't have stability in your power sector. They should address the many other challenges that confronts them. This is not enough to address the issues.
All right. What's the way forward in dealing with the power outages and the other challenges we are facing right now? Quick way.
Just ensure that you raise enough money, whether through the revenue received by ECG or NETCO or any other source, and go and plug the holes. If you plug and you pay, I am sure that fuel suppliers will be willing enough to continue working with you without any hitch. Make sure that you're also preparing to clear the debts of the IPPs, because once in a while they will come back threatening. And when they make good their word, you'll have the same situation again. And so find enough money, raise enough within the sector, and pay everybody within the leg. You know, we have this cash flow water system, and it's not working. Make it work as well, so that everyone within that very sector get a fair share of its contribution to consistent power supply.
All right, Nana Mwesi, the 7th Executive Director, Institute for Energy Security. I appreciate your frankness, your insight as well on this subject matter. Well, Ghana's electric vehicle policy is expected to provide market signals and help decarbonize the transport sector. Meanwhile, players within the sector want more to be done to support investors. According to team lead for Jet Ghana, Eugene Samote, a more conducive environment for investors is key to the growth of the space. He spoke to Joy Business at a Ghana-India Auto Investor Mission.
Organized by the Jobs and Economic Transformation Ghana team, the UK government program is dedicated to the creation of jobs and economic transformation in Ghana. The initiative aims to explore investment opportunities, foster partnerships, and contribute to the growth of the automotive sector in Ghana.
The market is really burgeoning at the moment and presents lots of opportunities that these advanced manufacturers based in India are looking to take these opportunities further. In the space of 2-3-wheeler manufacturing, the market is very ripe. We see a few manufacturers here, and we have seen the government being supportive of the development in that segment of the automotive industry with the recent EV policy, which is seeking to increase uptake of electric vehicles. Herein lies opportunity for them to partner with local stakeholders, as well as last mile delivery companies like the Ubers and the Yangos and the Bolts, to ensure that while delivery is safe and fast, it is also contributing to the existential issue of our time, which is climate change.
Founding director of Shima E-Vehicle and Solar Limited, Yugesh Lad, described Ghana's investment environment as positive.
What stage is now the Ghana is, or the West Africa is, it's about the electric vehicles. It's a starting here. So definitely we are finding a good opportunity if we invest here for the electric two-wheelers. And as the government is very clear about the policies for the EVs implementations in the future, definitely we find a good business opportunity here.
All right, you're watching The Marketplace now. We want to take this other story that we are covering for you this afternoon. And the Northern Regional Minister, Shani Al-Hassan Saibu, has indicated that the high unemployment rate in the country can have long-term effects on the society. He says currently Ghana has 12% youth unemployment rate, while the unemployment rate is about 50%. Haji Sani Saibu said this at the launch of the Ghana Enterprises Agency and MasterCard Foundation Business in a Box in Tamale.
The Big Box project is a 4-year intervention being implemented by the Ghana Enterprise Agency in partnership with the MasterCard Foundation. The focus of the project is aimed at providing about 250,000 youth comprising 70% female and 10% persons with disability with entrepreneurial skills and the appropriate startup kits. The Northern Regional Coordinating Director, Damani Mumuni, who spoke on behalf of the minister, said government was putting in strategies to address the challenge.
Ghana is faced with a 12% youth unemployment rate and more than 50% underemployment, despite major investments by government and private sector. The high levels of youth unemployment can have long-term negative effects on the economy and society as a whole. The introduction of the Business in a Box project under the auspices of the Ghana Enterprises Agency in partnership with the MasterCard Foundation is therefore a positive move towards empowering our youth.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Enterprise Agency, Kosi Yankee Aye, said the program has exceeded the target it was set to achieve.
The program was to target 39,000 people across the length and breadth of the nation. But thanks to God, 93,000 plus people benefited from the intervention. And I think we deserve a round of applause. The support benefited a lot of people in the northern region as well. And as we always do throughout our work, we ensure that every district and every region is not left behind. The Business in the Box project that we're launching today actually builds on the success of the first phase, which was the Young Africa Works Initiative, which was implemented from 2020 to 2022. Based on the success of that intervention, as I mentioned earlier, we designed a new program to scale the old one. And why did we do that? We realized that there was a lot of need. And as I stand here and I look out there, I see a lot of young women, young men, persons with disability who are here because I believe they need more support and more time and should be done to support them.
All right, that's our program this afternoon. There's more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Our top story over there, cedi crosses 13 cedi mark, loses 5.4% in value to the dollar since the 1st of January 2024. Also, government targets March 2024 to sign off debt restructuring agreement with IPPs. We've been talking about that this afternoon. Do visit our website, myjoyonline.com/business for the day's latest stories. And my name is Daryl. Kwawu. Thanks for watching. We will be back same time tomorrow.